Hi there, my name's Katie Cooper. Welcome to my world and thank you for tuning in. Today I'm going to be talking about psychic ability and where does it start. However, I have a very important message to make to a friend in England. Her name is Faye. She's a Pisces and she's having a birthday. So happy birthday, Faye. She's in Essex in England. Okay, now where does psychic ability start? I believe it actually can start from birth. The reasons I think that are because of what my mother told me when I was very young. For the first 4 years of my life, I would not allow my father to hold me at all. I would scream and cry and rant and rave, and this would have been, I was born in 1951, so this would have been 6 years after the war ended. Now, I didn't know much until very late in his life that he was probably very psychologically scarred from the things that he did during World War II, and I suspect that I sensed that and feared him, and I actually did fear him for, wow, about the first 40 years of my life. Don't roll the eyes, Kathy. And then the next time I had a psychic experience was when I was about 8 years old, and I actually had a dream, and I dreamt about this girl around about 8 years old, and she was giving me a piggyback. That's all I remember. And about 2 years later, my family moved up to Kingswood. That's the western suburbs of Sydney. And I attended the Cambridge Park Primary School. And the first time I walked towards the gate at the school, there was this girl standing there. Exactly the same girl I saw in my dream. And the first thing she said to me was, "Can we be friends?" And we were very close friends. The next time I had an experience was when I was around about 14, 15, 16 years old. And I had a sister, or still have a sister, Christine. She's 2 years younger than me. And we went through this stage, I'm not sure how long, maybe a year. And we would have several premonitions a day, and it scared the living daylights out of us. We didn't know what it was. My parents didn't know what it was. One particular occasion I remember, we were on a train coming back from Sydney down to Penrith, and I said to my sister, "The train's going to stop and it's going to break down for about half an hour and it's going to be between stations." Well, about 20 minutes later, the train stopped. It broke down half an hour between stations and then continued on. Now, this was too much for us. We were terrified as to why we were getting all these psychic impressions, and we didn't understand it. And it got to the point where when I was actually 16, I had a vision. I will talk about that in another time because it was a completely different experience. However, we were so scared that we sat down one day and we said, "Let's will this away. Let's make all this stuff go away. We don't understand it. We're too young to understand it." And for the next 7 years, neither of us had a premonition, which was really interesting. And probably the most interesting part of that was that I'm kind of glad it happened, because a lot of really awful things happened in my life at that time, and I never sensed it coming at all. I mean, I had a disastrous first marriage, I was abducted, and all sorts of really terrible things happened to me, and not for 1 second did I see the bashings coming or anything like that. So for 7 years I was freed of having any psychic experiences, which was actually quite good. Now, the other point I want to make is, can psychic ability be seen by looking at a natal chart of a person? And I believe yes. And I have 4 planets in the sign of Pisces, which is actually a very psychic sign, and I also have the planet Uranus in Cancer, so that's 5 water signs, planets in water signs, and the actual 4 planets in Pisces are all linked within a 10-degree orb, which means they're very close together, and they call it a stellium if you get 3 or 4 or more planets, plus the North Node is involved there as well. So the only problem is that sometimes I'm not sure when I have a prediction nowadays, and it's happened to me on quite a few occasions. Sometimes I don't even actually know that it is a premonition. I've just maybe had a thought, and one particular day I was on my way to work and I was heading for the bus, and I suddenly thought, who's going to put $800 in my hand today? This was about 7 o'clock in the morning. Well, a friend who I worked with, and we got on really well, she knew I was in the process of moving, and she actually asked me, you know, did I need some money? And I said, oh well, I do, but you know, I'm fine. She said, could we have morning tea together today? And I said, yeah, sure. At morning tea, like this was about 10 a.m, she put $800 in my hand. She later told me, you know, I could repay her, say, $50 a fortnight, which I did. And I think I only actually made 3 or 4 payments. And then one day she said to me, I don't want any more of it back, which was amazing. And she just said to me that she gave her children a lot of money, so why couldn't she give it to me as a friend? Now, another point I would like to make is, how do you know when you know? That's a very hard question to answer sometimes, because when you do know, you feel very sure, like 100% sure, and that feeling does not go away. It stays with you, and you know absolutely that you're having a premonition. And then there are other times, I was trying to work out, how do you know whether it is actually a prediction or whether it's just fantasy or your imagination running away with you? Well, that's something that also depends on how you actually feel about that particular situation at the time. I have used this on many occasions. Once when a friend in Queensland actually sent me an email, and she asked me, oh, she didn't ask me, she actually said to me, I've lost my 2 pairs of reading glasses. Now, she did not ask me to tell her where they were, and I sent her an email back, and I said to her, 1 pair is down the side of your couch, and the other pair are in a jacket in the wardrobe that you recently wore when you went to Switzerland. And that's where she found them, both pairs, those places. And then, funnily enough, she actually sent me an email and said, what was the colour of my couch? And I said, I don't know. I know I didn't know. There was another time when I actually was dreaming about her, and it seemed in the dream as though I was actually astral travelling to her home, and it was in the middle of the night. Naturally I was dreaming, and I sort of thought, oh my goodness, I should get out of here. I'm invading their privacy, you know, they're probably in bed. And I turned and I noticed 6 dolls, you know, like collector's dolls, sitting on the floor. And anyway, the dream ended, and I contacted her not long after that, and I said to her, I told her what I had actually dreamt, and she says, well, I do collect collector's dolls, and I have actually 6 of them, but they weren't on the floor. I think the only other point is, how do you find things? Now, this is really interesting, because there is actually a whole separate segment about called horary astrology, and it can actually tell you the location, like whether it's out of sight and can't be seen, or whether it's in a drawer. So anyway, that's sort of giving you a bit of an idea about psychic abilities, and I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope to see you next time. Thank you very much.